Alright guys, Rich here from the RC Network, and this is going to be update number 1 on my HPI Sprint 2 Sport. Now my whole plan here is to convert this Sprint 2 Sport into a full, halfway legitimate drift car. Now there's different ways you can go about drifting in the RC industry. One is to pick up a legitimate drift chassis, which I definitely did not do. This is just basically an off-the-shelf RTR Sprint 2 Sport from HPI. So, out the door for way under $300 on this thing. But I want to see some things that I can add to make this a pretty competitive drift car out there. So, with this particular car, the big obstacle are wheels and tires. And I didn't quite realize it at first, and I'm starting to definitely realize it now, are the wheels. There's not too many that have this wide of wheel and this wide of offset. These are the fronts. These are going to be a BBS replica, just the same as you see on the car there. These are 9mm offset for the front. Now, you definitely don't see that. Typically, you'll see a 3mm in the front, maybe a 6 in the rear on most cars. The other thing is, typically, touring car wheels are about 26mm wide. These are way wider than that, and I'll show you here in a second. So that's the fronts. Right here are the rears, and I've actually opened up one of these so we can fully measure that, but that's a 14mm offset for the rear. I mean, they're so wide for that Porsche 911 GT3 RSR. So really quick, I have my calipers handy here. That's the BBS. It looks awesome. Look how wide that is, guys. It's almost the size of a 10 skill short course. So got my calipers here. Let's measure how wide these things are. Look at that, 34mm wide. Typically they're 26, so definitely wider, which leads me to my next issue is tires. I can't just go to my shop or even online and just buy off the rack 26mm drift tires. I have to make my own, which is going to be a whole new series here at the RC Network. As you see way back there, you'll see that black pipe. This is just 2-inch ABS that I picked up at a local hardware store. Schedule 40 right there. I picked up this whole 2-foot length right there for $4, which you can't beat. I'll be able to make probably 10 sets of tires for that. So anyways, I'm going to have a separate series on how to make those. I've watched a few videos myself, and I consider myself an expert at this time. So that'll be definitely down the road here, probably in the next week or so. The next issue with the Sprint 2 Sport is definitely going to be the diffs, and I picked up a couple of options here to kind of get me going, and I can mix and match on down the road. The first thing that I was definitely pointed to was this one-way front diff. Now, this is a pretty nice part, and actually very expensive to say the least. I think this thing was right around $35. 32 tooth, that is just the pulley right there, but nice anodized aluminum, which is pretty nice. Has the dog bones right, or the out drives for the CVDs or dog bones, and this basically allows your car to spin forward, and when you hit the brakes, you're not going to hit the brakes on both sides. So anyways, it'll allow you to drift a little bit easier for us beginners. So picked up that thing. Other thing I picked up was a ball diff. Now, I may end up running this in the rear. I may lock the rear. I'm not sure yet. I'm going to experiment and kind of tell you guys what actually works. So this is pretty much the ball diff. So kind of like your regular 10 scale buggy type ball diff. So should be pretty easy to adjust. Next thing down the line that kind of hinders the Sprint 2 Sport is definitely the steering angles, and I went ahead and picked up these Universal Dogbones for the front only, so I can experiment with how far I can get my front end to steer. So we're going to be doing some dremeling on the front to get those things way down, but there's a quick model number on those. I'll try to have links in the video description, but believe me, some of these parts were definitely hard to find. Last thing, way up here, or not the last thing, but one of the last things, these are just some heavy-duty rod ends from RPM. I'm going to replace those out because I've seen a lot of slop on this car due to basically the rod ends. So we're going to replace those out. Hopefully these will be the right ones. I believe they are. We'll check it out as well. 440 rod ends should replace out onto that Sprint 2 Sport. And the last thing I picked up, actually I didn't pick up, I had these on hand, were these Tamina Shocks. Hopefully these are going to be the right length. I'm still, messing with this as well. But these are going to give me some adjustability with the, of course, all aluminum design, which is nice, but also a threaded shock collar right here to kind of get rid of the little clips that came with the Sprint 2 Sport. So that's the big thing right there. I have a full set of those. I'm going to have to mess with springs. Who knows what's going to happen with those. And the last thing, there will be a full series on down the line as far as counter steer. Now, there's different methods out there to counter steer, overdrive the rear, underdrive the front. I plan to underdrive the front, not to burn up my motors. Whenever you start overdriving the rear, you need to start putting on some serious fans and whatnot to keep your motors cool. So I plan to understeer the front or underdrive the front, and then kind of go from there. It's just done with different size pulleys, tensioners, and possibly different belts. So we'll be doing a whole series on that as well. So please stay tuned. I'm gonna figure out what works so I can be very clear and concise for you guys, so you know what to do with your Sprint 2s. So anyways, that's the first update. I'm going to get wrenching here, get some tires made, definitely shoot some videos, and hopefully you guys enjoy this series. I definitely am so far. Hope you guys too. Anyways, that's it for now, guys. Questions, comments on down below. And as always, thumbs up and subscribe. Over and out.